Disclosure Day is the latest film by legendary director Steven Spielberg, and Spielberg returns for his most potent genre for the first time in years: science fiction. In my opinion, Spielberg doing sci-fi is the peak of blockbuster cinema. So when I heard that he was returning to the genre and focusing on one of my all-time favorite topics, aliens, this movie is practically catnip to someone like me. In Disclosure Day, Spielberg dives into the question of what it would mean to human civilization if it were to learn that we were not alone in the universe. When you look at the cinematic history of First Contact, there's usually been this romantic illusion that the truth is inherently liberating. In past sci-fi films, the revelation that alien life exists and is visiting us here on Earth has been treated as some sort of catalyst for humanity to come together as one. From the mathematical symphonies of Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind to the linguistic breakthroughs of Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, the act of pulling back the cosmic curtain has traditionally been framed as an evolutionary leap forward, a moment where humanity, shattered by its own artificial borders and tribal animosities, looks upward and finds a collective identity in the face of the infinite. But with Disclosure Day, Spielberg offers up something a little bit different. He is asking here if in our postmodern, cynical world, would this instead threaten to tear at the fabric of global society? One of the protagonists in the film is Daniel Kellner, played by Josh O'Connor, who is a low-level cybersecurity analyst with the top-secret defense contractor organization, Wardex. Wardex has been collecting and maintaining a 70-year corporate government cover-up of the existence of alien life and the presence of their crafts on Earth dating all the way back to Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. This organization has not only hidden the existence of an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, but has actively commodified and reverse engineered its technology to erect an inescapable system of surveillance capitalism. Kellner ultimately decides to join forces with a small band of other like-minded Wardex employees, in addition to a Kansas City weather girl with special abilities, and they abscond with all of the top-secret files and records pertaining to this project and then expose it all to the world. Kellner's journey introduces what can be defined as the whistleblower's dilemma. When the truth has the power to shatter the foundational institutions of human civilization, is revealing it an act of supreme heroism or one of profound irresponsibility? Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sophist. My name is Bill, and I am a lifelong science fiction fan. And among some of my favorite sci-fi films as a child were those directed by Steven Spielberg. I'm talking E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jurassic Park. And continuing on into my young adulthood, there was Minority Report, AI Artificial Intelligence, and War of the Worlds. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I was for Disclosure Day when I first learned about it. I don't want to bury the lead here, I loved it. This movie was exactly what I was hoping for. It is a spiritual successor to Close Encounters in a lot of ways, but tackles new territory in a lot of other ways. One of my first insights upon leaving the theater was the thought that science fiction has evolved to reflect our growing, real-world disillusionment with institutional authority. Just a heads up here, guys, this video is going to include spoilers for the movie Disclosure Day, so if you want to avoid those, click away now, go watch Disclosure Day, and then come back and finish this video. To understand the weight of the whistleblower's dilemma, you have to first examine the nature of Daniel Kellner's dilemma. Unlike the whistleblowers of classic political thrillers such as All the President's Men or even real-world figures like Edward Snowden, Kellner does not possess an inherent ideological framework that compels him to rebel against the machine. He is a creature of the machine. Wardex has provided him with security, status, and a comfortable existence within a hyper-monopolized world. Spielberg establishes the Wardex organization as a cold, controlling environment. The offices are all glass and chrome. There are screens everywhere, watching everything. This is an environment where privacy is an obsolete concept, and compliance is the default state of being. When Kellner discovers the encrypted data packets detailing the global cover-up and the horrific mind dive experiments conducted by Noah Scanlon, played by Colin Firth, he is struck with a moral outrage and the sudden realization that he is in a unique position to expose it to the world. He knows that by doing this, it will not result in an orderly public debate or a series of congressional hearings. It will instantly vaporize the legitimacy of every major government, potentially crash the global financial markets, and throw billions of people into an immediate existential vacuum. By framing Kellner's discovery through this lens, Disclosure Day subverts the classic tropes of the whistleblower narrative. Kellner is acutely aware that by executing the data dump, he is acting as an architectural saboteur. He is pulling the pin on an informational grenade and tossing it into the center of human civilization. The film asks the audience to sit with the terrifying weight of that choice, challenging the simplistic moral binary that the truth is always a virtue. To fully appreciate the subversion in Disclosure Day, we have to compare its framework to the definitive example in popular sci-fi extraterrestrial cover-ups, The X-Files. The X-Files mapped the American psyche's deep-seated paranoia regarding government complicity and the suppression of cosmic truth. In The X-Files, the cover-up is managed by the Syndicate, a shadowy cabal of elderly, powerful white men operating out of smoke-filled backrooms in Washington, D.C. and New York. The Syndicate represents the traditional Cold War-era model of institutional conspiracy. They are a deep state entity that operates above and behind the official structures of government, hiding the truth of an impending alien colonization to protect their own skin and to buy time to develop a hybrid vaccine. The moral landscape of the X-Files is starkly defined. Fox Mulder is the white knight searching for the holy grail of the truth, while the smoking man is the gatekeeper of darkness. In contrast, Disclosure Day updates this dynamic for the 21st century by shifting the center of gravity from the state to the corporation. The Syndicate of the X-Files sought to bury the truth in dusty, inaccessible government archives. The Wardex organization of Disclosure Day seeks to monetize it. Under the leadership of Noah Scanlon, the alien presence is treated not as an existential threat to be managed through desperate diplomacy, but as a vast, untapped natural resource to be mined for proprietary technological advancement. When Daniel Kellner decides to whistleblow, his conflict is fundamentally different from Fox Mulder's. Mulder fought against a government that was betraying its citizens' democratic rights. Kellner is fighting an entity that has rendered democratic rights entirely obsolete through economic totality. In the X-Files, the disclosure of the truth is viewed as the ultimate victory that would dismantle the tyranny of the shadow government. In Disclosure Day, however, Spielberg is saying that the corporate government apparatus has woven itself so deeply into the infrastructure of everyday life that pulling it down via data disclosure will inevitably drag the citizenry down into the rubble with it. While Disclosure Day views the suppression of cosmic truth through a lens of corporate greed and modern paranoia, the Star Trek franchise has spent decades exploring the exact same dilemma from an entirely different ideological perspective, that of a benevolent, post-scarcity utopia. In the Star Trek universe, the United Federation of Planets is built on transparency, scientific exploration, and ethical enlightenment. Yet even within this idealized framework, the whistleblower's dilemma rears its head, proving that institutional survival often requires the weaponization of secrecy. A prime example of this can be found in the Star Trek Voyager episode, The Omega Directive. When Captain Janeway's sensors detect the presence of the Omega molecule, a highly unstable substance with the power to permanently destroy the fabric of subspace across entire quadrants, the classified Starfleet protocol overrides her ship's main computers. Janeway is ordered by Starfleet Command to completely wipe all sensor data, keep her crew entirely in the dark, and destroy the molecule at all costs, bypassing the Prime Directive itself. The thematic parallel to Disclosure Day is striking. In the Omega Directive, Starfleet's rationale for absolute secrecy is rooted in societal preservation. If the knowledge of how to create or harness the Omega molecule were to leak to the general public, it would spark a devastating cross-galaxy arms race that could end interstellar spaceflight forever. Starfleet dictates that the truth is simply too dangerous for mass consumption. Janeway, acting as the institutional enforcer, must grapple with the moral weight of keeping her own crew blind to an existential reality for their own protection. Furthermore, the Star Trek franchise explicitly interrogates the darker side of this dynamic through Section 31, the Federation's autonomous rogue intelligence agency introduced in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Section 31 operates entirely outside the law, committing atrocities, assassinations, and psychological warfare to protect the Federation's survival, all while ensuring that ordinary Federation citizens remain blissfully ignorant of the moral blood spilled to maintain their utopia. When we look at Disclosure Day through the lens of Star Trek, we see that Daniel Kellner's actions represent the ultimate nightmare for organizations like Section 31 or Starfleet Command. Kellner is the individual who refuses to accept the institutional calculus that a stable lie is preferable to an apocalyptic truth. By releasing the Vortex files, Kellner assumes the role of the uncompromising moral purist who believes that an institution sustained by a fundamental lie does not deserve to survive, regardless of the chaos its collapse may unleash. The intersection of corporate hegemony, human augmentation, and information warfare finds its most profound interactive expression in the sci-fi video game franchise Deus Ex. The climax of the original game presents the player character J.C. Denton with a choice that serves as the definitive structural counterpart to Daniel Kellner's dilemma in Disclosure Day. In the final moments of Deus Ex, Denton stands within the heart of Area 51, holding the keys to the global communications network. The world has been ravaged by an engineered virus, controlled by a shadowy corporate oligarchy known as the Illuminati. Denton is presented with three distinct choices for the future of humanity, two of which directly mirror the ideological conflict between Kellner and Noah Scanlon. Maintain the cover-up and work with the corporate elites to rule the world from the shadows with a benevolent hand, keeping the public blind but stable. Or blow the whistle on a global scale by completely destroying the global communications grid. This will instantly smash the corporate monopolies, but it will plunge the world into a decentralized, low-tech dark age where global civilization fractures into isolated communities. Kellner's choice in Disclosure Day is the cinematic execution of the second choice. By exposing the Vortex infrastructure and the alien reality, Kellner chooses to pull down the digital scaffolding of the modern world. For a contemporary mainstream parallel to Kellner's leak, we can turn to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's political thriller, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The film's narrative hinges on a whistleblower action that structurally mirrors the climax of Disclosure Day, while highlighting a fundamentally different philosophical approach to the nature of institutional rot. In The Winter Soldier, Steve Rogers and Black Widow discover that S.H.I.E.L.D., the global peacekeeping and espionage apparatus, has been systematically infiltrated since its inception by the fascist organization Hydra. Hydra intends to launch Project Insight, a network of helicarriers designed to an algorithmic predictive model that will preemptively assassinate millions of citizens deemed potential threats to their orderly global regime. Faced with this corruption, Steve Rogers makes the radical executive decision that the entire institution must be dismantled. Alexander Pierce argues that S.H.I.E.L.D. is necessary to protect global security. To build a better world sometimes means tearing down the old one. The film culminates in Black Widow uploading all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s encrypted classified files onto the public internet, completely exposing both Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. to the world. The critical divergence between The Winter Soldier and Disclosure Day lies in the psychological and systemic aftermath of the leak. In the MCU, the public disclosure of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s dark secrets is treated with an undercurrent of clean moral triumph. The bad guys are shot down, the institutional rot is excised, and while S.H.I.E.L.D. fails, the fundamental stability of the world's cities, economies, and civilian psyches remains perfectly intact. The film treats the public leak as a heroic cleaning of house. Spielberg, operating with a post-truth sensibility in Disclosure Day, treats Kellner's action with an almost apocalyptic weight. When Kellner and his group release the Vortex files, there is no swelling superhero score. There's only a deafening, terrifying silence. The full societal ramifications are not truly revealed to us. The core of the whistleblower's dilemma in Disclosure Day is found in its analysis of what could happen after the truth is out. The film spends time with many of its characters pondering over what the impact on human civilization would be once the truth about extraterrestrial life comes out. The primary effect that is referenced several times in the movie is that of what it would mean for religion and spirituality. When humanity learns that an advanced alien intelligence not only exists, but has been monitored, cataloged, and reverse engineered by a board of directors for quarterly profit margins, will the universe suddenly be stripped of its mystery, its spirituality, and its meaning? There is hope offered here in the form of a nun, who at one point in the film remarks to Kellner's girlfriend, herself a former nun, that her religious belief does not contradict the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. She remarks that humans may be God's children on Earth, but that doesn't mean that there can't be other children of God out there somewhere else. I kind of wish that Disclosure Day had spent some time examining the consequences that disclosure would have on other aspects of civilization too, such as the financial and political implications. For example, I think in the universe of the film, much of the global tech economy is dependent on the proprietary developments leaked by Vortex, that technology that was supposedly reverse engineered by its scientists. I wish there had been some mention of the fact that the moment the public realizes that the entire modern tech sector is built upon stolen, non human property, the legal and economic concepts of intellectual property, corporate sovereignty, and national debt would collapse into a black hole of litigation and panic. In a hypothetical sequel to this movie, I can imagine a world in which the whistleblower's action completely destroys the concept of shared reality. In a hyper-connected digital landscape already plagued by misinformation, the dump of millions of pages of absolute, reality-altering truth does not create a unified public consensus. Instead, it fractures the public into 1,000 conflicting, radicalized echo chambers. Some claim the data dump is a deepfake psyop. Others deify the Vortex Corporation. Others turn to nihilistic violence. The film ends before any of these effects are seen. I totally get why there are some people out there who hate the way this movie ends, not presenting the audience with the after effects of disclosure. To me, I think the movie has a near perfect ending. Spielberg ends on an optimistic note. At the moment of disclosure, the world stops in its tracks. People's routines of grocery shopping, getting on the bus, picking up baggage at the airport, and everyone is transfixed, staring at their phones and TVs. The impending war that is getting ready to start is suddenly on hold as the soldiers are watching the news about the extraterrestrials. When the live alien is brought out in front of the cameras in the newsroom and communicates to both Kellner and Margaret, Emily Blunt's character, we are not privy to what it says. The movie ends with Margaret getting ready to impart the alien's words to the world, and she delivers her final line of the movie. Listen. To me, this is a command to the audience to just stop with all the noise, distractions, divisiveness, hatred, and to be open about the possibilities for a new truth. Who knows, maybe the world turns away from cynicism and permits itself to advance to a higher plane of wisdom and empathy. Knowing the world like I do, I think that might be a bit childishly naive. But then again, isn't the childish naivete one of the things about Spielberg movies that we kind of love? I want to know what you guys think about Disclosure Day and the whistleblower's dilemma. Let me know down in the comments below. Please hit like on this video if you enjoyed this, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Take care, guys.